Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Through My Eyes, A Life with MS. You are listening to Lauren Parrott on the MS&Me Radio Network. We are sponsored and powered by the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network 24/7 internationally. The show that I'm going to make today is going to be about insecurity. And I have to start by telling you something that I couldn't believe. I kind of amazed myself. I was like, oh my gosh. I went on Google and then I typed in multiple sclerosis and insecurity because I wanted to see what was available, if I could give some insight into this radio broadcast. And I came across YouTube videos that I made 7 years ago. And I talk about multiple sclerosis and insecurity. And I couldn't believe it. And I know that I've talked to you about how I have been making YouTube videos since 2007, and I don't typically watch the videos that I've made. I will watch, okay, so when I make a video, I'll watch it, like 2 or 3 times just to make sure it's okay. And then I don't really watch the videos, and especially not videos that I've made, in the past. Definitely not. And because I did the reading and the research for the videos, and so I don't really go back and watch myself. I don't do that because I'm watching other videos, I'm watching other people, or I'm reading, or I'm watching a TV show. I don't really watch my videos. So I was really surprised when I found my own video. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I should be listening to my own advice. So what I did was I watched the videos. And I was like, oh my God. I went on the internet to try to find something, find an article or a video or something to explain to me what I should do when I have insecurity while living with MS. So when I found my video, I'm like, oh my God, I told people what you should do. I was telling everybody else what you should do from insecurity. And I should be listening to myself. I should be using my own advice. And I'm not doing that. What I said in the video was, I was talking about comparing yourself to other people. And I was talking about looking on Facebook and comparing your life to other people's lives. And I talked about how I don't do that because it makes me upset normally. And even though I don't really go on Facebook that much. I mean, I do, but not like I used to. When it started, I I would go on it all the time because it started, I think it was in 2004. And that year I was a junior in college. And so it was really fun. It was a blast. My friends and I, we were on Facebook all the time, and we were constantly changing our pictures, and every time we went to a party, everything was on Facebook, and so it was really fun. And then you graduate from college and your life changes, and for me, my life changed drastically because I had a relapse within a year of me graduating from college. So my life really changed. So at that point, the last thing I wanted to do was post things on Facebook. That was like probably the lowest point in my life. From my MS. My MS got worse. I developed new symptoms. And so of course I didn't want to I didn't want to do anything that I didn't want people knowing the truth about my life at that time. And so I would sit down. I wasn't strong enough at this point because I was 23 years old. So I wasn't strong enough to not be curious about what other people were doing. Like I really cared about what other people were doing, and I was comparing my life to their lives. And when in the video that I just watched, I talked about how you really shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't compare your life to other people's lives, even though we all do it. And I think that it's a very normal thing to do. In the video, I talked about how I started, even if I do compare my life to someone else's life on Facebook, instead of getting angry or mad or jealous, I'm very, I'm very happy for other people. Like when somebody else gets married or they have children or they get a new job or, they get a promotion. I really am happy for people. I don't get upset because it's not my life. It's their life. So I'm really happy for them. And I truly am. I really, truly am. I can say that now. Back when I was 23, that wasn't the case. I used to sit and cry, and because when I went through my relapse, I couldn't walk, I couldn't see, I couldn't do anything. So I thought my life was over, and I had really awful thoughts, like I'm sure many people can relate to, but that came to an end, fortunately, and I got a job, and I thank God for that. And so I really tried focusing hard on the things that I was able to do, trying to focus on the positive things in my life instead of dwelling on the negative, because that's not good for anybody, especially those that are living with multiple sclerosis. I think the worst thing to do is to constantly think about all the negative parts of your life, and it also affects other people. And I want to talk to you about something that has been happening to me recently. So at my job, I've been at my job it'll be 10 years in June. And I can't believe that I have been there for 10 years. But for those people who are listening, other people that have multiple sclerosis, you can understand me more than anyone else. I just feel lucky that I can have a job. It's at a nonprofit organization. And I am so thankful, and I thank God every day. I really do, and I say this a lot, but I mean it. Like I thank God that I can walk. I thank God that I can use my my arms and my legs and my hands and my eyes. I can see, I thank God for that, because you know what? I know what it's like to not be able to do those things. Because when I went through my relapse, I lost a lot of that. It was temporary, but I still lost it. And I remember what that was like. So I just have a totally different perspective when it comes to living life and what you should appreciate and be thankful for. But there are times where sometimes I don't really focus on that. Even though that should be at the forefront of my mind, in the forefront of all of our minds, all the time, is to be thankful and grateful for what we have and what we can accomplish. Sometimes I lose sight of that, and I do start comparing my life to other people. And even though, like I said, in the video I made 7 years ago, I talk about how you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, and you should be happy for other people. It can be really difficult sometimes, especially when you're surrounded by others. And for me, what's happening is that at my job, there are some things that are happening. I won't get into details, but there aren't very many happy people that I work with. And I'm the only one where I work that is living with a challenge. Well, I think we all have challenges. Let's start with that. We all have challenges. I'm the only one there that has a physical challenge. And it can be difficult because there are people that are 10 years younger than me. And we are very, very different, and it can be really hard, and it gets to me. And especially what was happening to me was that I was comparing myself to these other people, and I was getting really down about it because I have cognitive issues from MS due to the lacks on my brain. And I started comparing myself to these 23-year-old girls who are super, super smart. And I'm really proud of them for being as smart as they are. I really am, truly. I mean that. But I started comparing myself. Then I started feeling stupid. And I started feeling and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm just an idiot. And that is not true. Oh my gosh, it is not true. I seriously have cognitive issues. And it can be really hard, though, when you're facing reality. It can be really, really difficult. Because in the YouTube videos that I made 2 videos about insecurities. The first one, I talk about not comparing yourself to other people. And I talk about don't compare yourself to people on Facebook. Be happy for their accomplishments and focus on your own accomplishments. And it can be hard to do, but we should all do that. The second video I made, I talked about how I wanted proof that I have cognitive issues. I wanted to make sure that it's scientific proof that I have plaques on my brain that cause cognitive issues, because I wanted to make sure that me not understanding things, there was a reason for why I wasn't understanding things, so that it shouldn't be so easily understandable. Even something like directions. They happen today when people talk about east and west and north and south. I'm like, okay, don't do that. Just give me a landmark. Don't tell me to go east or go west. Just tell me when you get to the Kroger, turn left, because I get confused. So anyway, the second video that I made about insecurity, I talked about how I went to see a clinical psychologist, and I took a test. It was like a written test and a verbal test, and I talked to the clinical psychologist, and he told me, he said, well, Lauren, yes, you do have cognitive issues. And I had always assumed it. When I was in school, I remember when I was in high school, I didn't understand things as easily as my friends. And when I was in college and in grad school, I even had professors tell me, wow, Lauren, I was surprised with your grade, because I'm not good at taking tests, because I don't like to have a time limit. I really need to take extra time to really try to comprehend questions that are asked of me or problems that I have to solve. I need more time. And maybe I'll answer it correctly and maybe I won't. But at least I know, after seeing that clinical psychologist, at least I know that I definitely have cognitive issues. So it's really been affecting me lately, because some things happened at work and I was getting really upset, and I was crying actually at home, and my mom told me, I live with my mom, and she told me, she said, you have to stop. She said, she's a counselor, by the way, and she's like, you have to stop this because you're affecting me too. She said, find the positives. Find the things that are going to make you happy. Because if you keep dwelling on the things that bring you down, that is only going to make things worse for you, and it'll make things worse for me too. So I had to sit back, and for me, what I did at that moment was I just said, I am sorry, and I went into the other room and I started watching a TV show. Sometimes in order to sort of not think about the things that are really affecting me at that time, I have to escape reality. I used to play piano a lot, and I know I should get back into it. I really should, because I have a beautiful piano in my house, and I don't play it that much because when I got tremors from my relapse, it's not as easy for me to play piano as it used to be. So, that's another thing. It's like another thing that causes depression, or, so I'm like, well, I should stay away from that because it makes me upset. And so I shouldn't have brought that up. But the reality is I can still play the piano. And if you watch my YouTube videos, you'll see I play the piano. I don't remember how long ago it was. It was a couple years, and I can still play. I just have to practice, because practice makes perfect, especially when you have an ailment, especially when it's not as easy as it used to be. It just takes me longer. I can do it, but it takes me longer, and it takes practice. So that is something I have to work on. And another thing that I have to work on is just stop focusing on, the problems that I'm having with certain people at work. And I know that is something that is happens everywhere. I don't actually know anybody that doesn't have problems with people at their job. I think that's very normal. But of course, I always tie MS into it somehow, because it's my biggest insecurity. So I always revert back to, like, well, this happened because of my MS, or this happened because of my cognitive problems. And I do that a lot, and I put myself down a lot too. I started doing that from a really young age, because I used to get made fun of a lot. And I think I'm like really delving deep into this radio podcast right now, but I I was kind of singled out. I was ostracized when I was younger, and so I thought, well, if I put myself down, then maybe these people will like me more. If I make fun of myself, maybe they'll like me. And I started doing that at work because the same kind of thing happened. What happened in my childhood was happening to me now. And so I revert back to how I've always been, putting myself down, hoping that it'll make people, laugh and joke and think I'm funny. And, with my MS, I try to make a lot of jokes about it. Like, I'll make fun of myself a lot, because if I don't, then I'll just cry about it. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry occasionally, as long as it's not an everyday thing. But it's really difficult. It's something that I think I'll be working on for the rest of my life, because having MS and having people who talk badly to me or about me or whatever has always, it's always been there. There have always been people that were mean to me, and I think that it's going to continue. I've learned, I have a funny story. So my grandmother, I was really close with my grandmother, and she lived in an assisted living home, not for very long, for maybe 6 months, and then she passed away. But we were really close, and I learned that she was in her 80s, and the women that were in, like the women that she would eat with at her assisted living home, they were just as catty and as gossipy and as snobby as girls were from my grade school. I'm like, oh my God, the way that they were talking to each other and talking behind each other's backs and stabbing each other in the back, and they were mean and bitchy, and they weren't very nice to each other. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what girls did when I was in grade school. This is what girls did in high school. This is what girls did in college. This is what girls do right now when I'm working. I'm like, this is happening forever. Like, this is not going to change. So how do I how do I solve my problems with insecurity? Well, like I said before, and I said this in my video, I can't believe I said it. I can't believe I should be listening to my own advice. I have to not compare myself to other people. I think it's important to be nice to other people. And if they're mean to you, or if people are rude, or they make fun of you, or they do anything like that, at least to me, I stay away. I don't want to be around people who bring me down. And so if these are acquaintances or friends, people that I don't see very often, I can just stay away. If they are people that I work with, it can be more difficult. It can be a lot more difficult, because you have to put up with it on a daily basis, and that's what I've been doing, and it's been really hard. When there are people who are younger than me and much less experienced that I am in a lot of ways, because they're younger, it can be really difficult, and they don't have multiple sclerosis, so they have absolutely no idea what it's like to walk in my shoes. It's like they don't know how hard it is just to live life. Living life is really hard when you're living with a challenge. And so people who don't have a challenge don't understand that. And it really it can be really difficult. And what I always try to do in order to become more secure about myself is I really try to focus on what I'm best at. It can be really, really hard. It can be really hard to not think about your insecurities. I mean, I think we all do, but I really need to focus more on the things that I enjoy, the things that I'm good at, and what I want to do. I think the thing that I am the best at is public speaking. And I've been a public speaker. I was a public speaker for over 6 years. And it's something that I'd really like to do, but the challenge for me is that you can't you can't get a degree in public speaking. And I know that will definitely help with my insecurity because I feel so secure when I'm giving a speech. I have never felt more comfortable and more confident than when I am in front of a crowd delivering a speech. So I know that is something that I need to work on, and that'll help with my insecurity. But it's definitely not an easy road. It's off the beaten path. And it's like it's very difficult. But the thing that I love doing more than anything else is I love helping other people. That's why I make YouTube videos, and I love doing that too. And it can be a challenge doing that sometimes too. There are days where I'm like, I just don't feel like being on camera. And there are days where I just don't feel like giving a speech. But it's something that, if it was something that was easy to do, then everybody would be doing it. So, in order to get over my insecurity, I need to not compare myself to other people. I have to be proud of the people who are doing well, and I need to stay away from the people who are making me feel bad about myself. I'm going to really try hard to start working on my public speaking, and that's something I would like to do, especially like the new year is coming and I can't believe it, but that's something that I would really like to start working on, because it is really hard when you live with a challenge to get over your insecurities. It's very hard. It's very difficult. But I think that the key is just to stay positive, keep the negativity out of your life. I need to keep the negativity out of my life, and I need to focus on the things that make me happy. Focus on the things that I know will make me feel good about myself, and stay away from the people who don't make me feel good about myself. And if they happen to be people that I work with, then just be cordial. I can be nice and keep my distance. That's really all I can do. So anyway, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you relate to this, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye.